Hello everyone, how are you guys doing this week? So we've got some interesting things to talk about. Now, I don't even know where to begin, good grief. Alright, so, in case you don't know, Microsoft has, well, they are attempting to, I believe the deal won't close until end of fiscal year 2023. They are attempting to buy Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion, which is the largest acquisition in the video game medium of all time, and Microsoft's biggest acquisition of all time. I believe just shy of almost over 60 billion. I believe they bought LinkedIn for about 20 something billion. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Now, what does this mean? That is what we're going to talk about today. What exactly does this mean for Xbox? What does this mean for PlayStation? What does this mean for PC, mobile? What does this mean for the video game entertainment space in general? Just all of that nonsense. Now, obviously, none of this is fact. This is all my opinion. This is what I think could happen, what I think might happen, some of my personal thoughts, and just some stuff that's been that Phil Spencer has talked about in the past week, and some other nonsense. So let's get into it. Good grief. All right, so yeah, they are buying Activision Blizzard. What does that mean? They are going to own every single IP that Activision Blizzard owns, which is Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Tony Hawk, just so much. They all the studios that they own: Beanox, Sledgehammer, Treyarch, Toys for Bob, you name it. There's a ton there. So what does this mean for the games? Now, could they be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem? Possibly. I'm pretty sure Phil Spencer or Xbox Game Studios has said that after their purchase of Bethesda, that most of the games will be exclusive to Xbox, PC, and of course Game Pass. So we pretty much know that from the Bethesda side of things, And if you don't know, Microsoft bought Bethesda this year as well for $7.8 billion, somewhere in the billions. Now, this accusation is a bit different. So back in I don't remember the exact year, but a couple years back, Microsoft also bought Mojang, and they are the creators behind Minecraft. So if you don't know, Microsoft actually owns Minecraft. They own that IP. A very, very incredibly strong, successful IP. Now, Minecraft is not on is not exclusive to the Xbox. It is an Xbox Game Studios game, but it's on every other platform. Now, why would they do that? No idea. Obviously, they're still making money from sales of the game. But they didn't strong-arm anyone and say, hey, you want to play Minecraft? Guess what? Get an Xbox One or play it on PC. It seems that they wanted to keep those communities intact on the platform that they're playing them on. Now, Phil Spencer has said a couple things about this accusation. Accusation. I keep saying accusation. That they intend to keep Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is obviously the biggest one here. I mean, it's a pretty big game for casual gamers. It drives the market. It's consistently one of the best-selling games year over year in the NPD sales in Europe, well, in the States, I'm sorry. So it's a big deal, man. It's for a third-party game. It's huge on Sony's platforms, and it's obviously does well on Xboxes too. It does not come to Switch. I believe some ports came to the Wii U, but for Nintendo, probably not a huge deal. Now, so Phil Spencer stated that they intend to honor contractual agreements that Sony already has with Activision. How long that contract is, no idea. Sony could have something with Activision for the next 10 years for all we know. We have no clue. Whenever that contract expires, could Microsoft have Call of Duty as an exclusive? Possibly. Will they? I don't think so. Phil Spencer has already come out with a tweet on Twitter and said that he intends to keep essentially these gamers on their platform of choice, and their desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. So why would they do that? Well, for starters, they are still going to make money. I mean, money is still going to be made. But one thing that Xbox or Microsoft, or Xbox Game Studios, I guess, is trying to sell you on is the brand. They're not really necessarily concerned about console space, and this, that, and the fourth. They're trying to sell you the Xbox ecosystem. So how would they do that? If you're the average consumer and you walk into your local retailer and you don't have a PlayStation or an Xbox, but you want to play Madden, you want to play Call of Duty, which are, Madden, Call of Duty, 2K, FIFA, those are really the biggest sellers on these home consoles, and they drive a large portion of the market. So if you walk into your local retailer and they say, hey, I can play Call of Duty on Game Pass, so I don't even have to buy another game. I can essentially just start this subscription service of Game Pass and I get all these other cool games. Yeah, I'll grab an Xbox. So there's not really a need to strong arm, people into that ecosystem. They'll just do it with content and services that they already have. So even for myself, someone who owns a PS5 and, I prefer Sony over Microsoft because of their exclusives, I still own an Xbox. And why is that? Because their content and services. They have Game Pass, which is an extremely great service. It's a ton of games that I get, and there's brand new AAA releases on their day one. So yeah, of course I'm going to do that. There's no need for Microsoft to really strong arm any, like, hey, if you want to play Call of Duty, guess what? You better get it. Like, there's no reason for them to do that. Their content and their services will speak for itself, and consumers will get into that ecosystem, whether it be Xbox Game Pass for PC or an Xbox console, or if they can, at some point in time use xCloud, which is their streaming service, and play Call of Duty that way. People will do it. There's no reason to make Call of Duty, or all of these games an exclusive. Now, because this acquisition is, obviously costing them so much money, and to Microsoft it's probably not a lot of money, but it's a lot of money. A lot of people are thinking, of course they're going to make Call of Duty exclusive. Why would they not? They just spend all this money. Well, like I said, they don't really need to. And secondly, Microsoft needs a good competitor in the video game market, if that makes sense, because right now, Xbox Game Studios, Microsoft, Xbox, whatever, we'll just say Xbox Game Studios, is competing with Sony and Nintendo. If you take out Sony and Nintendo, guess who they're going to be competing with? Apple, all these other, Amazon, Facebook potentially, all these tech giants, right? They don't want that. That's, they're the last people that they want to compete with. So it makes sense for them to kind of keep a healthy Nintendo and a healthy Sony, and they've done something like this similar before. If I were, years ago, Apple was on the, had a bunch of financial issues, and Microsoft dumped like $150 million or something into them. So there's monetary reasons and business reasons behind why they would want to have Sony and Microsoft where they're at. And I'm pretty sure Phil Spencer has had an article recently where he stated that they have a good relationship with Sony and Nintendo and want to keep a healthy Sony and Nintendo around. So now now that we're finished with Call of Duty, essentially, do I feel like Call of Duty is going to be exclusive? No. Will they have Call of Duty day one on Game Pass? Yes. Will that drive consumers to their ecosystem because they have it day one on Game Pass? Yes. Will you still be able to buy Call of Duty on PlayStation? It's very likely yes. So, because first of all, if their intent was to strong arm people, they would have already done it years ago. There's no reason why they would just start now all of a sudden. Game Pass has been around for years, and if they really wanted to pull the plug, they could have done it. Mind you, Game Pass wasn't as huge as it was when they bought Mojang, so there's a reason for why. There's a potential reason why Minecraft isn't on other platforms, but still, if they really wanted to, they could have, and they've yet to do so. And I don't think Phil Spencer's intent is to have Call of Duty an exclusive. It doesn't really need to be. They'll have content and services that'll just make people migrate over to that Xbox ecosystem. Microsoft isn't concerned about, selling outselling PS5 in console sales or anything like that. They're more concerned about, the console market is, a very small percentage of this thing. They're not worried about, it's in all reality, the console wars or whatever you want to call it is such a small drop in the bucket to what Microsoft is going after. They're going after the 3 billion gamers around the world, the mobile gamers, the PC gamers. They want everything. They want you to have the console in the living room. They want you to play xCloud on mobile. They want you to have Game Pass on PC. They want you to be able to play it on your phone, tablet, wherever it may be. And that's what they're trying to do. So when you have all these great content and services and it's readily available to you, why would you ignore that? You wouldn't ignore that. As a consumer or someone who enjoys the medium, it's accessibility, and you're going to push towards that. And if you can do that, then that's the easier option for you. Yeah, sure, I'll totally do that. And another reason why I feel like Sony is not, or Microsoft is not going to strong arm, people who are on Sony's platform into their ecosystem, because they don't want any bad blood. They have already kind of had a really rocky start with the Xbox One, and it was very anti-consumer and all this other stuff. And Phil Spencer came in and really started to earn the trust of gamers and put essentially Xbox back on the map. So would he just come in as a hostile takeover and be like, look, you want to play this game, you better buy, get into this ecosystem? I doubt it. Now, for the other IP, for the Crash Bandicoots, for the Spyro, Tony Hawk, could those be exclusive? Yeah, those could totally be exclusive, because one, yes, Xbox does need exclusives, and they do need a little more family-friendly content. So yeah, that's good for their platform. Those are definitely much needed. And only time will tell for those. And realistically, those aren't your Call of Duties. So it's whether those are they still perform very well and they make a lot of money, but it's something that Microsoft's like, yeah, sure, we could definitely do some exclusive on here, because obviously there will be the Call of Duty is kind of in a league of its own in terms of popularity and just the monetary value. So that one's a little more tricky. With the other IP, not as successful as Call of Duty, yeah, I could see those being essentially exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem for sure. Could some of them be multi-platform still? They could be. We'll have to wait and see. Now, another thing is, even with this accusation, some people have said it before, still, man, it's still going to be quality over quantity. Yeah, Xbox Game Studios has a bunch of studios and all these developers and all these, unique teams, but still, man, like, there's really not a lot of software tying you to, there's nothing like, I will say, for one of Sony's narrative-driven single-player games, it's easily equals like 20 of whatever Xbox has. It's, in my, like, the single-player games that Sony releases, man, they are extremely engaging. They're very well-done games, very well-paced games. They're, like big blockbuster deals. It's a really big deal when Sony releases a first-party AAA game, because it's a really unique experience, and Microsoft just doesn't have a lot of that. They really don't. They have a lot of games, don't get me wrong. They've got a ton of good games, a ton of really fun games, but not a lot of those real, like, man, that game was such an experience. It's just a lot of games. And so I still feel like, all these accusations that they've been making, good grief, man, that they've been making, they still got to pump some games out. So we still have to see, what they've been working on. And apparently they've been working on a lot. So hopefully we start to see that. And just in another tidbit of news, the Xbox Series S and X have been selling pretty well. I'm pretty sure they're at this point in time Microsoft's fastest selling console. So they're doing well. The gaming division for Microsoft is apparently a really big deal for them now, and they kind of want to give it its own space and its own spot, and really emphasize on it, and probably pump some more capital into it and see what they can do. So now, where does this leave Sony? Well, let's say if Call of Duty really does go away from their platform, yeah, it could suck. It could definitely hurt Sony. First things first is they're going to obviously lose those sales. Second thing is Call of Duty, well, not Warzone. I'm not sure if Warzone requires PlayStation Plus, because I don't play Call of Duty. But Call of Duty, the retail releases at least, or the yearly releases, they do require PlayStation Plus. So if Call of Duty's gone, you could potentially see one, loss of sales, and then two, people just won't, resubscribe to PlayStation Plus because there could be millions of people only playing it for Call of Duty. So what does Sony got to do? They're in a tricky spot. One is they really have to deliver on these exclusive games and really, really sell you on them and really up the ante. Because, they did it really well with PS4, and if they can continue to do it on PS5, they could potentially be in a good spot. Now, here's the thing with that. They're going to have to sell a lot of copies of these games to really make ends meet, because one, the budget for these games are becoming astronomical, and two, they have to really rely on these games now, because these exclusive games are going to be, what's pulling you in to buy a PlayStation and to enjoy the system. So, historically, Sony has always been the best seller. There's only been maybe one console generation they've lost, at least in the home console space, and that was with the PS3. The Wii outsold that. But primarily, all of Sony's platforms have sold over 100 million units, all of their home consoles, at least excluding the PS3. Portables haven't seen as much success. So they've been the leader. And so with that large install base, third-party games have typically sold the best because they have a larger install base. So what does that mean for the Activision third-party games? They're going to lose those sales. So what does that mean? They have to make up for that. And how are they going to make up for that? Their exclusives are going to have to sell a ton more. Two, they're going to have to just pump out more exclusives, and the issue is these budgets are fudge ton, and then on top of that, the development cycle takes a while just because of how grandiose the games are. So they're going to have to think about a strategic move for that. And then what's interesting is PlayStation has been, this is very, very, still pretty new. They've been releasing games on PC. So you've had PlayStation Studios has released Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, and God of War have all gone to PC. Now that Microsoft has made this purchase, my theory is that we might not see these PC releases anymore, because now these IP are as valuable as they could ever be to Sony, and I don't think they want them anywhere but their platform. Because, the whole reason to bring them to PCs, the games have sold phenomenally well, games are costing more to make, and they're selling more, so essentially, I feel like it might match out to what it used to be. Let's take the original God of War. You had 3 people that worked on the combat. 3 people worked on the combat. So the budget for God of War and how many copies it sold, it probably matches today in what the budget for God of War 2018 was and how many copies it sold. Obviously, that's it's not 1-to-1, but to kind of give you an idea of just how development has the cost and how many devs they need. These teams are hundreds of people potentially with budgets of, we could say, I believe, getting to the point to they're rivaling, blockbuster movie budgets. So yeah, it's definitely, important for Sony to get as many sales as they possibly can, and putting it on PC really kind of helped them, put some new life into these games and, obviously make them more money. I believe on Horizon Zero Dawn, they saw a return on investment of like 200-something%. So yeah, but with this purchase from Microsoft, now their IP is going to be as valuable as they could ever be. So we might not see any more of these PC releases because, Sony's going to want to be like, hey man, you want to play God of War, you want to play Horizon Zero Dawn, you got to buy PlayStation, because that's all they have right now. Now there are rumors of a new subscription service that Sony's going to release called Spartacus, which could be a revamp of PlayStation Now, which is their current one, and this could be their competitor to Game Pass. So yeah, we'll have to see. But I mean, really the big deal for them is going to be Call of Duty. So for Nintendo, how does this fit in? Realistically, I don't think it's going to affect them much. I mean, Nintendo's got insane sales right now. I'm pretty sure the leader in system sales, hardware sales, even software sales. They're killing it. They've got first-party games selling crazy amounts of copies. Pokemon has received its highest physical dollar sales. So retail, people have gone into a retail store and bought a physical copy of Pokemon games in 2021, and the highest spend since 2000. So they're doing great. They're doing really well. Yeah, they might lose Crash Bandicoot, they might lose Spyro, they might lose Tony Hawk games. I think in the long run they'll be okay. And like I said, Microsoft has a really good relationship with Nintendo, so it's possible that we could still see these releases on other platforms. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what I keep hearing people say is essentially Microsoft is going to have Sony put Game Pass on their platform, or Nintendo, and I doubt it. They might approach them and say, hey, put Game Pass on, blah, blah, blah. One, Sony is not going to let that happen. Neither is Nintendo. And that's not going to happen. There's no reason for them to strong arm or, to do that or Trojan horse themselves onto this essentially other platforms. They don't need to do that. Their content and their services will speak for themselves. If someone's going to want to have the accessibility and just the seamlessness of having Game Pass and having all of their most played games on the Xbox in the Xbox ecosystem, they're going to go into that ecosystem. There's no question about it. If someone only plays Call of Duty, which a lot of people only play Call of Duty, guess what? It's free on Game Pass. If I have Game Pass with other games that I'll play, that's what I'm doing. There's no, they don't have to do that. There's no reason for Microsoft to strong arm anyone or force anything onto competitors' platforms. They don't need to. They really don't need to. And what's going to be interesting to see in the coming years is how this deal pans out. What's exclusive, what's not. What's going to come to other consoles, what doesn't. But I think my personal opinion is that I don't think Call of Duty will be exclusive. And I can see where people are coming from because it's a huge freaking deal, man. It's $68.7 billion. So obviously they'd want, they want to get some type of freaking something back from that. And so, yeah, it's like the idea is, of course, yeah, we're going to make Call of Duty exclusive to, make more money. But I just don't really know if that's really going to be their game plan. And people keep saying, Phil Spencer tweeted out that he literally has a desire to keep the games on PlayStation, doesn't want to take them away, but people think for whatever reason that's cryptic and read between the lines on that. I really think his intent is pure and he literally means that. But we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, this is just like crazy this isn't like this is a big movement in video game history. It's probably one of the biggest, if it's like almost rivals Sega leaving the console space. Like, it's a big deal. This is a huge purchase. And yeah, if this were 10 years ago, you can bet that Call of Duty would be exclusive, and Microsoft would want that because that's what they were in. They were in the console wars at the time. It was beating Sony. Now they're playing a completely different game where they're not necessarily concerned about that, because this is a long-term thing. This is not an immediate thing. They're looking for Game Pass to grow and to grow and to grow and to grow for years and years and years on end. And I'm pretty sure Phil Spencer said that they're at 25 million subscribers. Most of that is on console, I believe. But yeah, it's just it's kind of just it's insane to wrap your head around at some point, because you're just like, wait, what? They really did that? Yeah, it's interesting, it's exciting, it's kind of nervous. You don't know what's going to happen, what's going to go on, what is Sony going to do, how are they going to react to this? Is Sony going to essentially buy other studios? Could we see Sony acquire Capcom? Could we see Sony acquire Square Enix? Could we see Sony acquire Sega? Is that something they would look into? I personally don't think so, because typically what Sony does is they'll have contracts with these guys for exclusive games or marketing rights, whatever it may be. So why buy Square Enix when you can just say, hey, we're going to pay you a lump sum of money and Final Fantasy VII is going to be exclusive to our platform. They'll likely just continue on with that. And another thing is, some people have been saying that that Microsoft is becoming a monopoly. And at first glance, I viewed it at that, but and they also have somewhat of a history of that as well. But in reality, this only gives them about 10%, 10 to 16%, excuse me, I believe, of the market. It's a big deal for sure, yeah. And if they continue on with this, I mean, they've got EA, Take-Two. There's some other big ones out there, but for the most part, I think Sony will be okay. They've still got the really great exclusive games. There's still a reason to get in there. And yeah, so we'll have to just kind of wait and see what happens. It's just interesting to think about. It really is, man, because now we could really expect some great things from Sony. You know, they really got to step it up. They can't be comfortable at a time like this because, yeah, they don't know what's going to happen. Neither do we. So, wow, thank you guys for listening to this just rant, discussion, whatever you want to call it. I kind of just wanted to get my thoughts out there about this because it's a pretty big deal. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.